I'm not supposed to be telling you this. In fact, I signed documents stating I wouldn't. But after everything I've been through, I need to get this off my chest. About a year ago, I was recruited for a secret project by a research facility tucked away in the remote mountains. I was a graduate student struggling to pay off my loans when I got an email from an organization called Genexus Labs. They promised a hefty sum of money in exchange for a few weeks of my time and involvement in what they described as a groundbreaking study. The details were vague, but the pay was too good to pass up. I remember the trip to the facility vividly. They flew me out to a small airport where a blacked-out SUV was waiting. I rode for hours through winding mountain roads, my cell signal fading to nothing as we climbed higher and higher. By the time we arrived, I felt completely isolated from the rest of the world. The facility itself was massive, surrounded by tall fences and security cameras. It looked like something out of a science fiction movie, clean, cold, and clinical. Inside, I was greeted by a group of scientists who were eerily friendly. They wore white lab coats and plastic smiles, introducing themselves as Dr. Ellis, Dr. Thompson, and Dr. Reed. They explained that the study was focused on sleep patterns and neurological responses to certain stimuli. It sounded harmless enough, and after a brief medical check, I was led to my room, a sterile white-walled cell with a bed, a small table, and a camera mounted in the corner. The door locked from the outside. The first few days were uneventful. They attached electrodes to my head and monitored my brain activity while I slept. Occasionally, they'd wake me up to ask strange questions about my dreams or how I was feeling. I thought it was all part of their study, until the night when everything changed. On the fifth night, I was awakened by a strange buzzing sound. I opened my eyes to see a faint green light blinking above the door. I felt disoriented, my limbs heavy and my mind foggy. Then the door opened, and two guards wearing masks entered. They didn't speak, just grabbed me roughly and escorted me down a long corridor. They brought me to a different room, a larger one filled with medical equipment and strange machines I couldn't identify. Dr. Ellis was there, but his friendly demeanor was gone. He instructed me to lie down on a metal table in the center of the room. I was too dazed to resist. As I lay there, staring at the bright overhead lights, I felt a cold needle pierce my arm. Everything went black. When I woke up, I was back in my room, but something was different. My body ached, and I felt an unnatural tingling sensation all over, like electricity was coursing through my veins. I looked down at my arms and saw faint, dark veins pulsing under my skin. Panic set in. I tried to get up, but my muscles wouldn't cooperate. I screamed for help, but no one came. Hours passed, or maybe days. I couldn't tell anymore. The camera in the corner of the room was pointed directly at me, the red light blinking steadily. They were watching, but they wouldn't answer. I began to realize that I wasn't just a participant in a study. I was their guinea pig. Over the next few days, I noticed more changes. My senses became sharper. I could hear the faintest noises, see in almost complete darkness, and my reflexes were unnaturally fast. At first, I thought it was an improvement, a result of whatever experiment they were conducting. But then the hallucinations started. I would see shadows moving in the corners of my vision, hear whispers that seemed to come from within my own mind. At night, when I tried to sleep, I would dream of strange places, dark, twisted landscapes filled with monstrous creatures. The dreams felt so real that I often woke up drenched in sweat, my heart pounding in my chest. One night, I woke to find my door slightly ajar. The green light was blinking again, and I could hear a faint hum echoing through the facility. I knew this was my chance. I mustered all the strength I had and crept out into the hallway. The place was eerily silent. No guards, no scientists. I wandered through the corridors, the walls closing in on me as the hum grew louder. I stumbled upon a room filled with monitors displaying live feeds from the cameras around the facility. There, on one of the screens, I saw something that made my blood run cold. It was me, sitting in my room, but my eyes were black, my face distorted into a horrific expression. It wasn't me, but it was. I didn't know what was happening, but I knew I had to get out. I continued down the corridor, desperately searching for an exit, but the facility seemed like a maze. Every turn led to another identical hallway, every door locked tight. Then I heard a scream, a blood-curdling, inhuman sound that echoed through the empty halls. I ran towards the sound, my heart pounding in my chest. As I turned the corner, I saw it, a figure standing in the middle of the hallway. At first, I thought it was another test subject, but as I got closer, I realized it was something else. Its skin was pale, almost translucent, and its eyes were pure black. It turned to look at me, and I felt a wave of terror wash over me. It opened its mouth, but instead of words, a low, guttural growl came out. I turned and ran, adrenaline surging through my veins. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't let that thing catch me. I could hear its footsteps behind me, getting closer and closer. I turned a corner and slammed into a door, fumbling with the handle. It was locked. Just as the creature rounded the corner, I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned to see Dr. Ellis, his face pale and eyes wide with fear. "This way," he whispered urgently, pulling me through a hidden door I hadn't noticed before. He slammed it shut behind us, bolting it tight. "What is happening?" I demanded, my voice trembling. Dr. Ellis looked at me with a mixture of fear and regret. "We made a mistake," he said, "a terrible mistake." He led me through a series of winding passages until we reached a small room filled with lab equipment and papers scattered everywhere. "You were never supposed to see this," he muttered, almost to himself. "But now there's no going back." He explained in a hurried, frantic tone that the facility was working on a secret project to enhance human capabilities, strength, speed, senses. But something went wrong. Some of the test subjects had reacted unpredictably to the treatments. They became something else, something inhuman. They tried to keep it contained, but the experiment had spiraled out of control. I demanded to know why they hadn't stopped when they saw the effects. He looked down, ashamed. "We thought we could control it. We thought we could harness it, but we were wrong." Before I could ask more, the door behind us started to shake. Whatever that thing was, it had found us. Dr. Ellis handed me a key card. "Take this. It will get you to the elevator. Go to the basement. There's an emergency exit there." I took the card, my hands shaking. "What about you?" I asked. He shook his head. "I have to stay and try to contain them. You need to go. Now." I didn't wait to argue. I took the key card and bolted out of the room. I could hear the creature breaking through the door behind me. I sprinted down the corridor, swiping the card at every locked door until I found the elevator. The doors opened, and I jumped inside, frantically pressing the button for the basement. The elevator descended slowly, painfully slowly, and I could hear the sounds of chaos above me: screams, crashes, inhuman growls. When the doors finally opened, I was in a dark, cold basement. I spotted the emergency exit sign and ran towards it, my heart pounding in my ears. I burst through the door into the freezing night air. I didn't stop running until I was miles away from that place, the facility nothing more than a distant, haunting memory. I never looked back. I don't know what happened to Dr. Ellis or the others, but I do know this: whatever they unleashed in that facility is still out there.